Let's bring you some more reaction to Djokovic's achievement, shall we? We'll speak to former British number 3, Barry Cowan. Barry, good evening. Always great to see you, and thanks for spending the time to chat to us. We heard that tweet from Rafa Nadal when he said that years ago 23 Grand Slam titles looked impossible, and yet Djokovic has made it possible. Just how has he done it?
Yeah, good evening, Julian. It is extraordinary because, it wasn't so far long ago, actually, Sampras was breaking the record on 14. And then, of course, what we've been so lucky in this last couple of decades is we've had 3 phenomenal players. And I actually think if we didn't have 2 of them and it was just 1, they probably wouldn't have achieved what they have achieved because they've just pushed each other to absolute greatness. And, Djokovic was the last of the 3 to emerge. I think that's where the loyalties were kind of very difficult because it's become very tribal tennis. It was Federer or it was Nadal. And then up came Djokovic right in the middle. And just in my opinion, he's eclipsed both of them. I think the Grand Slams now back that up. The longevity he has, he's 36 and his body looks 26. And that's, for me, is where I am absolutely astonished because usually towards, if you look back at, Sampras quit after he won the US Open, I think it was 2002, early 30s. McEnroe never won a major after 25. Ball quit at 25. And here's Djokovic at 36 years of age. And for as long as he wants to be the best, I believe right now he will be. And for me, I look at it played 2, won 2 in terms of majors in 2023. We're going to be talking about the calendar slam again.
We'll speak more about what more he can achieve and where he stands in the pantheon of great sports people over the years in just a moment, Barry. But you mentioned Nadal and Federer there as well. How does Djokovic differ from those 2 other greats?
Well, I think they are 3 totally different players. I mean, personally, if I was to watch tennis and be in awe of what type of shots they can hit, then Federer would be the one because he is a shot maker's dream. Nadal obviously brings incredible intensity. The forehand, obviously, clay is where he's excelled, 14 French Open titles. But in terms of the best tennis I've ever seen, has been from Novak Djokovic, and actually one of the best matches I've ever seen was a few years ago, the Wimbledon semi-final that was carried over for 2 days, which was Djokovic and Nadal. And those 2, they pushed each other to new heights. And, in sport, and anyone that sort of is in love with that one-on-one battle, what you have is someone raises the bar, then someone can raise it even higher, and that's especially with the Djokovic Nadal rivalry. It's what we had with the Federer Djokovic rivalry, and of course what we had initially with the Federer and Nadal. But I was actually asked the question, what makes Djokovic so good? And almost without being negative, can I switch it the other way? There is just no weakness. You just cannot get through him. And as soon as he won that first set today, in my mind, it was over because, history will tell you a lot, Julian, that when he wins the first set in a major, I think that's now 293 wins and only 5 losses. I mean, it's unbreakable once he gets in the lead because how much it has to take to get through him over 4 or 5 hours physically and mentally. He kind of broke the back of Ruud, who played great in the first set.
So as you say, he's now eclipsed Nadal and Federer. You say that he plays the best tennis, in your opinion. If that's the case, why is there not as much love for him as there is for the other 2?
Well, I think it's what I said at the start. Tennis has become very tribal, which I think for me, obviously, it's been my sport for 40 years, and I'm really privileged to commentate on it, been really privileged to interview all 3. He's come right in the middle. And when your loyalties are to either Federer or Nadal, and then Djokovic comes in the middle, and he isn't aesthetically as good to watch as Federer. I don't think anyone ever will be. Certainly not in my time. But his ability to be able to find peace when he feels a little bit the whole world's against him. I mean, at the start of the tournament, there were doubts about his fitness. He sort of was. He likes to feel, and he's found it that if the crowd are against him, he can challenge that to an absolute positive, and that's why mentally, he's unbreakable. the US Open a few years ago when he was playing Federer. I mean, the noise in the Arthur Ashe Stadium at 24,000 people, and I think it was 23,990 were cheering on Federer. And that didn't affect him, as it didn't affect him those couple of Wimbledon finals when he played Federer, when the crowd were massively pro him. He is a mental giant, but also his tennis has evolved so much. He's now become a very complete player. His serve is truly world class, and his net game has become even stronger over the years.
We posed the question at the top of the hour: is he the greatest tennis player of all time? Of course, he's level now with Serena Williams, one behind Margaret Court. He could level her total of 24 at Wimbledon. The other question we posed was: is he maybe the greatest sports person of all time? And I know it's a difficult question, Barry, but I know you love your other sports as well. I mean, would you make an argument that he is the greatest ever?
Yes, I would. Yes, I would. I mean, you're always going to be biased in your own sport. I get that, and there would be, whether it be boxing or whether it be football or whether it be, some of the great sports that there are. But when I look at the era that we've had in terms of the Federer, Nadal, the Djokovic, the fact that what Djokovic has been able to do, and what happened last year, I'm not going to go into detail, but what happened last year, and I felt it at the time, would actually lengthen his career, because it gave him sort of time to step away and almost just mentally just regroup. Not that he necessarily needed to regroup, because he was the best player in the world even at the start of 2022. But right now, which was the same with Nadal a few years ago, and it was also the same with Federer before, unfortunately, his knee enabled him to pack up. The first thing that will go with those guys is the will, because they are extraordinary. And right now, Djokovic still, it seems, has got a lot that he wants to achieve. And while he's got that, the desire, I mean, obviously Alcaraz is going to be very exciting. He's only going to improve and get better. And his experience that he got on Friday against Djokovic, I mean, look at that. He broke the back of Alcaraz, who, physically is seen was unstoppable. And he only lasted a couple of sets. So yeah, for me, Djokovic would be the best tennis player I've ever seen. The records will show that, obviously, in the men's game, and certainly one of the greatest sports person that I can ever remember. Yeah.
Final question, Barry, about another the old guard, Andy Murray, who a couple of hours ago, after the rain delay, won the Surbiton Trophy, his first title on grass since Wimbledon 2016. He'll head into Wimbledon as a seed now. Just how significant will that victory be for him, do you think?
Well, I mean, he obviously has felt it was important that he is to be seeded. He thinks that's a benefit. I'm not so sure, actually, because by just scraping into the seeds means you could play a Djokovic third round, where if you weren't seeded, then you might sort of get a potentially favourable third round. He will counteract and say, well, I want to play Djokovic first round. But I think where I think Andy is at the moment is that he's shown this year he can play some really good tennis. He obviously made that statement over a week ago. He said, I feel in my mind one of the best grass court players, and obviously that he has the experience. I mean, where of course he needs a favourable draw, and he needs everything. A lot of things go his way in terms of the draw. But there aren't that many great grass court players. So some of the top 10 players, if they lose early, and there's always a section of the draw at Wimbledon that opens up, and maybe there might be two sections of the draw open up. If Murray is in one of those sections, then he has the experience. But the fact that he's still got the motivation, that's what I find extraordinary. He's played the Challenger this week. He's going to play another Challenger next week in Nottingham. We talk about still having the desire. He has it in abundance. Unfortunately, what Andy doesn't have, that Djokovic has. Djokovic's body is 36 going on 26. Murray at 36 years of age, it's with what he's gone through, it's still amazing that he's able to play at a very high level.
Certainly whetted our appetite, though, for Wimbledon, that is for sure. Barry, it's always really great hearing from you. Thanks so much for your time.
Likewise. Have a good evening.